afternoon. Welcome to the 2026 Graduate Studies Virtual Expo. Throughout this week, we are hosting a variety of institutions and partner institutions who are highlighting their graduate programs for Seneca students and graduates. My name is Jennifer Kloosterman, and I am one of the Academic Pathways Advisors here on the Academic Pathways team. Our team supports students and graduates who are looking to build on their Seneca credential. There are a variety of resources available, and you can connect with the Academic Pathways team for more details. This session today is with the George Washington University Graduate School of Political Management, and my colleague Bobby McGowan will be doing a brief presentation. I'll pass it over to you, Bobby.
Great. Thank you so much, Jennifer, and good afternoon or good morning, everybody. My name is Bobby McGowan. I currently serve as the Associate Director of Recruitment and Admissions here at the Graduate School of Political Management, or GSPM. I am also a proud alum of our Legislative Affairs program, which we will talk about very briefly at the end of our time together. I know there is no pathway currently in place between Seneca and GW related to the Legislative Affairs program, but I did want to go ahead and make you all aware of that additional offering in case it was of interest. Today, I am going to talk with you on a very high level about the Graduate School of Political Management and the type of work we do here. And then I am going to pivot and talk a little bit about our particular programs that include our master's programs and our stackable graduate certificates as well. So starting at the highest level here at the Graduate School of Political Management, we were founded nearly 40 years ago as the United States' first and foremost school of applied politics. What is going to separate us from every other program you might be looking at, whether it be an MPP, an MPA, a Master's of Political Science, is that emphasis on applied politics. Our faculty are not career academics. These are folks who spend their days on and around Capitol Hill, on and around political campaigns, on and around public affairs firms, and spend their nights teaching our students how to do the things they did during the day. To that end, we are very clear with our faculty. If you would not give an assignment to one of your entry or mid-level staffers, do not give it to our students. We are not in the business of making you write 10, 15-page research papers about the history of the US Senate or a political campaign that you are inspired by. We are really in the business of giving you assignments that teach you how to do the work. You're going to be writing fundraising appeals for your candidate. You're going to be writing advocacy strategies, social media copy, speeches, those kinds of things that you can not only use when you're applying for jobs as your writing samples, but also things that you can maybe independently publish or use in your professional workplaces. Related to this, both of our programs for which we have pathways at Seneca offer really vibrant capstone experiences that I'm happy to talk with folks a little bit later, where you would be working from the very beginning planning phases to the execution of various advocacy strategy campaigns, as well as some public affairs communications type work. I should also note that we have a very robust network of alumni. We have over 4,700 folks all around the world at various levels of politics. These are folks who also benefit from lifelong career support. So once you're a member of the GW community and the GSPM community, we are happy to work with you really intentionally to make sure that you're getting the career support you need from that, all the way from that first job, all the way up to the more senior level positions that we know our folks really aspire to. We know that cost can be a barrier for folks, and so we do offer several generous merit-based scholarships that are funded by our alumni and our board of directors. If folks have an undergraduate GPA of 3.3 or higher, they are eligible to apply through a separate merit process for an award that would cover typically between 1 to 3 classes worth of tuition. Those with a 3.7 or higher are eligible for consideration for our director's scholarship, which would cover $2,000 worth of tuition expenses, or rather $20,000 worth of tuition expenses. Relevant to our time together today, we also offer special discounts and pathways for Seneca Polytechnic alumni, particularly for your government relations certificate folks and your public relations and corporate communications folks. These pathways were typically, when we have relationships with other institutions, what we will do is we will evaluate transfer credit on a case-by-case basis. But in the case of your institution, recognizing the quality of the work that you all have done in your graduate certificate programs, we will automatically transfer up to 6 credits from either of these certificates into one of our master's programs. You can see here on the screen that those of you holding a government relations graduate certificate can transfer 6 credits automatically into our political management master's degree, which we'll talk about in a minute. Those of you who hold that public relations corporate communications graduate certificate can transfer those 6 credits into our public relations and communications master's degree. Again, this happens automatically once you're involved in the process. There are some particular requirements that you'll need a letter of recommendation from your program coordinator just to make sure that we complete that transfer appropriately, but there's no additional paperwork beyond the admissions process that you would have to do on our side to transfer these credits in. I should note that these credits will count toward your introductory classes. So there's the 2 intro classes for each of these programs that we would waive for you in recognition of your outstanding academic achievement in your graduate certificate programs. As I said before, we offer both master's degrees and stackable graduate certificates. I'll spend most of my time talking today about the master's degrees because those are the pathways that are available to you all, but I will just briefly note the graduate certificates in case you are interested in the shorter term credential as well. Our 3 master's programs, which we've talked a little bit about already, are political management, public relations and communications, and legislative affairs. Again, that third pathway, the legislative affairs pathway, doesn't quite yet exist between Seneca and GW, but I will just touch on it very briefly so you have the full suite of options available through us. Beginning with our political management master's program, this is a program for anybody who wants to work on or around campaigns. And when we talk about campaigns, we intentionally talk about this in 2 different ways. Of course, we're talking about those electoral campaigns. You want to win elected office, your boss wants to win elected office. What skills, networks, and abilities do you need to make that happen? Something that a lot of folks don't think about, though, are the issue advocacy pieces. So you're passionate about a particular cause, whether it be the environment, whether it be reproductive freedom, gun rights, those kinds of things in your various contexts, right? How do you get stakeholders talking and thinking about those issues in the way you want them talking and thinking about them? We lump these 2 things together into the political management degree because they're really the same skill set. You're either selling someone a candidate, you're selling someone a cause. It's really about the same thing. And so you can see here just some of the core courses and sample electives that we offer. This is a really comprehensive program designed to give you insight into the various elements of a successful campaign operation. We are talking to our folks, of course, about communications and political communications in particular. We know that communication is one of the most foundational skills in politics, and so it is a large part of our curriculum. We also work with you on data and analytics. In particular, we know that, at least in the United States context, but really around the world, campaigns are no longer about changing hearts and minds. It's really about finding folks who might already agree with you and convincing them to turn out and support whatever initiative you're producing. And so we really give you the skills you need not to identify the folks who already agree with you or who are most likely to agree with you, and then teach you some other things about how to turn those folks out, whether it be at the polls or in various referenda or pieces like that. We also, of course, give you an introduction to the fundraising side of the shop. We know that political campaigns around the world are only getting more expensive. It takes a lot of money to win elective office. It takes a lot of money to capture the attention of the public. And so we teach you not only how to write some of those fundraising appeals, but also to manage donors and other funding streams throughout the life cycle of your initiative or your candidate. We know a lot of our candidates start at the local level, and then as they have greater ambitions and move to higher office, they'll of course need some additional money, and often that money is coming from the same donors that launch their local campaigns. So we teach you those pieces as well. Of course, we've also got the general campaign strategies, rules and laws type classes just to make sure you're conducting yourself ethically and legally appropriately when you're in these contexts, because we know there's a ton of rules related to regulating campaign finance and other things like that. So here you can see the total investment. Again, that this figure does not include the credits you would have waived as graduate certificate holders. This is also, of course, before any merit-based financial aid, which we've talked about. So this would be the raw investment before any kind of merit or need-based financial aid is applied. I will have our graduate certificates listed here on the screen. Happy to talk about those in greater detail on the Q&A, but really want to spend most of our time on the master's programs today. Moving now to our public relations and communications program. This is a program that teaches you exactly what it sounds like, how to navigate the public relations and communications space, not only as a practitioner who does the communicating, but also as an entrepreneur who wants to learn the business of public relations, public affairs, and communications. This degree is really designed to teach you how to communicate with the right audiences in the right way, in the right time, in the right format, right? We know that there's so much complexity and psychology that goes into mobilizing people in support of a cause, in support of a candidate, And so we really want to make sure that you have the skills you need to communicate in a variety of different modalities to a variety of different audiences, which includes, in a lot of ways, our global audiences. Many of our programs here at the Graduate School of Political Management, particularly on the legislative affairs side, think of it in a very US context, but political management and public relations do also have a global politics kind of component to them. So this is another great opportunity to dig into communicating with some other audiences that you might not normally think of when you're working in your particular environment. Yet again, you can see the core courses and some of our other electives here. Two things I'll highlight about the Public Relations and Communications program are these professional skills courses and then the capstone requirement. I'll also talk briefly about the concentrations. Our professional skills courses are, again, exactly what they sound like. These are designed to be very short-term courses that are focused on giving you a very particular set of skills that you can apply immediately in your workplace. And so these are 1-credit courses. These are offered over 4 weeks in our completely online in a synchronous format, like all the other public relations courses. And again, designed to really give you a particular set of skills. So you can think of these in a lot of ways as case studies. Our crisis communications course, for example, you start with a scenario where a candidate for elective office or a corporate CEO or a nonprofit executive director maybe says something that they shouldn't have said during a town hall meeting. What are the steps you need to take to assess the damage? What are the tools available to you to help clean that up? And not only come out on the other side of that issue, perhaps with as strong a reputation as you did before, but even perhaps a better one. Some of our best crisis communicators are those who turn crisis into an opportunity. Likewise, we have a professional skills course on social analytics, digital media, again, teaching you the ins and outs, not only of the paid media on social media, but or earned media, organic pieces, the constituent targeting and those kind of pieces. So those are professional skills courses. Our capstone experience in the public relations program is particularly interesting because it is an opportunity for you over the course of 2 semesters, 1 year, to work for one of our real world partners, right? So this could be a nonprofit, this could be a government communicator, this could be a corporate communicator, and you would work with this client in a quasi-consultant capacity, again, consistent with all relevant laws and regulations. So you are going to meet with this group, you are going to assess a communications challenge that they're having, and then you are going to use all of the skills you developed in your core courses and those professional skills courses to draft a comprehensive plan to help them solve those communications challenges. So you're going to work with them, again, in a one-on-one capacity under the guidance of our esteemed faculty. You're going to work with them over 2 terms, and if you are good enough at what you do, which you will be because you'll have taken all of the courses you need, you will walk out of that not only with a really robust professional portfolio of writing samples, but also potentially a letter of recommendation from somebody you have actively worked with in the communication space. The last thing I'll touch on here with the public relations program is our 3 concentrations. So we recognize that communication looks a little different in a variety of different contexts, right? Corporations communicate differently than government folks. Government folks can communicate a little differently than our nonprofit folks. And so we offer individual concentrations within each of those contexts. So we've got our corporate comms track, our government relations and public affairs track, and our nonprofit communications track. I should say one last thing, I guess, about public relations is that across all of those, one of your core courses is going to be this fundamentals of business and finance and PR. And so this is really the course where we teach you the business of PR. So many of our alumni go on to launch their own public affairs firms, whether they be lobbyists or consultants or other kinds of folks. And it's really important for our folks to understand not only how you communicate about other entities when you're consulting for them, but how you're communicating about your own business and your own brand and your own professional reputation. So we not only teach you those pieces, but we also teach you the really nitty-gritty pieces around, how are you promoting your brand? How are you doing audience capture and reputation management? How are you managing the spreadsheet and the budgeting and other pieces of that? Something else that sets us apart from a lot of the other public relations programs in the space. You can see here the total investment. Again, this is before any of the credit waivers that you would get as a graduate certificate person or any of the aid. So just keep that in mind as you're looking at this. We also have our graduate certificates. Again, happy to talk about those during Q&A if folks have questions. I did want to touch ever so briefly on the legislative affairs program. Again, typically a much more US focused element at this time. We are working on building out some global components of this, but for right now, really focused on the United States Congress and the Associated Legislature. This is really a program designed for folks who want to work on or around Capitol Hill. And a lot of these skills are transferable to other legislatures around the world. So really teaching folks especially those of you who might be interested in some international lobbying pieces, how the US Congress works. And so this is really for our folks who want to be lobbyists, who want to work as members in elected legislatures, or even work as staff in those legislatures. So really teaching you the ins and outs of the procedure and how procedure shapes outcomes so that you can manipulate the procedures to get the outcomes that you want. So again, I do offer that for our folks who, again, might have an interest in the international lobbying piece. We do offer a course on international lobbying if your interest is staying outside of the US, but I did want to make sure we had that available. Before I open it up to questions, I did just want to briefly touch on our application deadlines. We admit folks across all three of our terms, so the summer, fall, and spring. You can see the associated deadlines here. That priority admission and scholarship deadline is really important for those of you who are interested in applying for funding through that merit-based process. There are other need-based awards available as well and some other merit-based opportunities outside of the Graduate School of Political Management. But I did just want to make sure I left you all with the key dates and those terms. Generally speaking, our courses, of course, are designed for working professionals. Most of our folks work full-time while they're in the program. Our faculty are working full-time outside of GW when they're teaching in our program. And so we like to make sure there's a lot of flexibility, not only in terms of your start date, but also in terms of modality. Our folks are able to take programs and courses completely online, completely in person, or in a hybrid modality, with the exception of the public relations program, which is offered entirely online in a synchronous format, so you're engaging with your professors and not missing out on that key networking. That is all I have prepared for you all today. I'm happy to take any questions now. If you have any additional questions that come up for you after our time together today, please feel free to email me at bobby.mcgowan@gwu.edu. I'm happy to connect you with any of my wonderful program directors who lead each of these programs. I can also connect you with other alumni who can speak more authoritatively about the student experience. Thank you all, and I look forward to your questions.
Thanks so much, Bobby. That's a great presentation, so much good information. And great that the students have so many different options in terms of studying online as well as in person. So yeah, Bobby's information is on the screen. If anyone needs to reach out, please do so. Or always you can get in touch with Academic Pathways here at Seneca and we would connect you. So thank you so much, Bobby, for taking the time to be with us today.
Thank you, Jennifer. Pleasure.
All right, everyone, have a great day. Take care.